All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to have a little sit down talk with Jovanni Rainieri with Ohio Sportscast, his YouTube channel. He's our local young Ohio sports expert. I don't know many people that are as up to date on Ohio sports and as young as Jovanni is. So I'm excited to have him on, and hopefully this is something that we can continue, and something that, as the seasons change and as sports change, we can continue to have these talks, and Jovanni and I can just sit down and kind of just talk about Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast Ohio sports. So Jovanni, the first subject that we want to kind of discuss here are the Cavs. I know they're playing the Thunder right now, and it's a close game, and the Thunder are, last I checked, they were the best team in the West going into tonight. So this is a good little playoff preview. What are your thoughts on the Cavs season so far this year?
I mean, we're playing excellent basketball than last season, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this team, when you talk about some of the best Cavs teams that we've probably ever watched, you're obviously talking about LeBron, right? And I definitely think that this group is different than LeBron and the teams that he had in Cleveland in the mid like 2015, 16, those years. What do you think it is? What do you think is special about this team?
I mean, to be special, to be honest, pretty much the players like Donovan Mitchell, he is having a career year so far. Darius Garland, he's improving since last season. Evan Mobley, he's finally increasing his threes a little bit. And I would think Jared Allen, he's, of course, getting double-doubles every night. So this team is probably the players and also the new coach as well.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job just, stepping in and taking over. That's not easy either, to keep a team going as good as they were even last year, to make them even better. You mentioned Mobley and Allen, and that's what I had written down as well. Our field goal percentage, or effective field goal percentage, is 59%, and we lead the league in that. We have the best offensive team in the league. And that, I think that's what makes this team so exciting, is that there's not just one guy. And I think that's what makes him so much different than LeBron's time. Was there's just one guy that would just take over games, but they can lean on 4, maybe 5 guys to play at really high levels, and they're just winning ball games left and right. So I think that's what makes this team so exciting.
Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah. So the tough question here, and we really don't need to worry about this till April, and the NBA is kind of funny with that, but do you think that this is a team that can compete with the Celtics, or, maybe a full power Bucks team, that kind of standard?
I mean, to be honest, those are tough teams, to be honest. And if we want to win those teams, if we play them in the playoffs, then we gotta show up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that it's, we saw some sparks or some glints last year, but I mean, this is the year where I think we could hang with them. I mean, in a 7-game series, I really do think that they might have a chance, especially if we keep playing the way we have been playing, to get home court advantage. That'd be beneficial for sure. Not to have to go to Boston and play, 4 of the 7 games. So yeah, I think there's definitely a chance right now, as long as everyone stays healthy. I think is the biggest card to be played. So
yeah, I would agree.
Well, good deal. All right. Well, I was talking Cavs. It's kind of tough right now, because Cleveland sports has been really exciting. I mean, you got the Guardians going to the divisional series. You've got Ohio State in the college football playoffs. The Cavs doing well. I guess we'll get this one out of the way. And you're probably more of an expert than I am. Let's talk about the Browns for a second.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the season?
I mean, we sucked all year. Pretty much, our head coach was going over play calling for a little bit, but finally got it to Ken Dorsey in like week 8 or 9. And I don't think the offense with Ken Dorsey didn't even worked out at all.
Yeah, and I know Stefanski survived Black Monday, when all the coaches are supposed to get fired and, they go search the coaching pool. He survived it. So I don't think you can blame Stefanski for what happened. I mean, the GM and the owner come in and they hand him a quarterback who just seems to struggle left and right and just doesn't seem like he's got the passion and the energy. And I don't know if there was some other stuff going on, and I'm sure his head's not in the same place as it was when he was in Houston.
No.
But I don't think you can blame Stefanski, can you?
No, to be honest, absolutely not.
Yeah, so I would like to see Stefanski there for at least another year, maybe even 2. I struggle to see them punish him for that team. You know what I mean? Like, that team just doesn't seem like it's gelling together right now. And I think there's a lot of things on the table that are a factor because of that. Which brings us to the draft. What are your thoughts on the draft? What do they go after? If they just restructured Deshaun's contract, you've got Nick Chubb supposed to be healthy next year.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
I mean, to be honest, we're now at the second pick right now, and
Right.
I'm the Browns GM, and if it's draft night, which it will be in a couple more months, then I would take Shedeur Sanders at number 2 from a quarterback out of Colorado.
Okay, so you're going after a quarterback. I would assume you plan on sitting him for a little bit and letting him get his feet wet. And I would say this is still Deshaun's team, theoretically, right now. But I would say he's probably got a pretty short leash, right?
Yeah.
So a quarterback wouldn't be a bad pick. Do you keep Jameis Winston around, or do you try and shop him around to teams that might need a bridge quarterback?
Yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders could work with us. I would like Deshaun to sit out for a little bit and let Shedeur Sanders do his thing for a couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I'd definitely say that their style of play was very similar. And I mean, I know a lot of Browns fans were very excited when they initially got Deshaun Watson because of what he did do down in Houston. And I think that's kind of the same player you would get with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of let's say Cam Ward goes number 1, and you want to stick with Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson. How would you feel about Travis Hunter?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, he could be the next like Randy Moss 2.0. I just don't want him to ruin his career in a place that they're gonna like ruin all the quarterback play and the rest of the coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the Browns have some good weapons, but I don't think that they're elite weapons, and I think that what you get with a Travis Hunter. He is an elite athlete. So no matter what position you put him in on the field, I feel like he's going to make a difference. So I feel like Travis Hunter is a very safe pick. Shedeur Sanders could go one way or another at quarterback. You never know, especially when you waste a draft pick that high. And you always hope you land a Patrick Mahomes or something like that. But, I think a safe pick would be Travis Hunter for sure. And then there's a couple linemen that I know are supposed to go pretty high in the draft that would definitely help the Browns.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree on that.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I'll be interested to see how they move parts around here in the offseason going into the draft. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But that brings us to the NFL playoff talk. Let's talk a little NFL playoffs here. And Jovanni, what you and I are going to do is we're just going to go through and try and spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes on each of these matchups, and maybe give the first thought off our head. I know we kind of pregame this and thought it through. So, all right, first matchup is going to be Saturday at 4:30. We've got the Chargers going to Houston. What are your thoughts on that game?
I mean, Houston, they were a good team at the first half of the season, but a little bit sluggish in the second half of the year. And I think Jim Harbaugh has really been the savior for this Los Angeles Chargers coaching.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think my pick fell the same as yours. I think that Houston is a good team on paper at the beginning of the year, and injuries have absolutely destroyed them. CJ Stroud's gone through a sophomore slump. I think they puttered into the playoffs, and I think it'll be a short run for them. I agree. I think I like what Harbaugh's done there, and I can't say that I like Harbaugh, but I do like what he's done in LA. So I think they move on. All right, next game is going to follow that one Saturday at 8. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. Literally a rematch. That was a pre-postseason game last week, right? So what do you think happens going to Baltimore?
I would say the Ravens are a really good team in the AFC, right next to the Chiefs. But the Steelers, they started off 10-3, but they ended the season on a really, really low slump at 10-7. So if I'm the NFL predictor, then I would pick the Ravens to beat the Steelers because the Ravens are still so good.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are your perfect average team. You're gonna get above 500 almost every year, and you might get to the playoffs, but I think that's about as far as they've been able to go. I don't think they have the guy and Russell Wilson. I think that their defense is elite, but I just don't think that they can keep the defense off the field long enough. And I know that with Lamar and Derrick Henry, adding Derrick Henry to that offense is just, it's a game changer. I haven't heard anything on Zay Flowers. Have you heard anything on Zay Flowers? Is he hurt?
I heard that he is mostly likely out for the game. Okay. I saw it a couple hours ago. I saw that most likely Zay Flowers will be out for this upcoming game. Okay.
So they're leaning toward out. Okay. Well, I know Bateman had a great game against the Steelers that game. He did pretty well. So maybe that'll help, but Zay Flowers he's a top-notch wide receiver, so that'll definitely hurt him. But I think that they basically have 2 running backs in the backfield. It'll be hard to stop. But so we'll see. But I agree with you there, Baltimore. All right. Okay. Denver at Buffalo, Sunday at 1. The first game on Sunday. I'm going to try and not be biased on this one, Jovanni. Okay. I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
All right. Well, the Buffalo Bills are a really, really great team. Of course, they still got the franchise quarterback, Josh Allen. They lost their wide receiver 1 in Stephon Diggs last year, but the guys they brought in, they have been good for them. But the Broncos, though, they got your new franchise quarterback in Bo Nix, and I think Russell Wilson was probably the problem last year in 2022 also. So I would pick the Bills to win over the Denver Broncos.
Okay. Yeah. It's looking that way. That I know it was back and forth. Who is ruining the Denver Broncos? Is it Sean Payton or is it Russell Wilson? And I'm gonna have to go out there and say Russell Wilson just didn't want to be there. That's what it kind of appeared like, because he's playing well in Pittsburgh. and Denver's playing well too. So it must have been a mutual kind of, let's just part ways. Yeah. I think that my Broncos, regardless of how this season ends, whether it ends on Sunday or not, it's a win. I think that's coming off of a 4-win season last year. That they, I think that the projection was that they only won 6 games this year. So to win 10 games, to have a rookie quarterback do as well as Nick's did, they've got some potential. I like it. Going into the draft, you don't have to worry about, okay, we have to draft another quarterback or we have to reload on our offense. You got a great O-line. You have the number 1 defense in the league. Just get them some weapons and see what happens. And so I am excited. But with that being said, I also agree. I think that the Buffalo Bills are a wagon and that they have an elite quarterback. They have a good running back. They have a good defense and they have a good coach. And I think that they're going to be hard to beat on their home turf. And, maybe we'll save it for later, but I have the Bills making it to the Super Bowl. So I put my money on them. So the Buffalo Bills, both of us. So far, we're 3 for 3 together. All right. So the next one might be a little harder. Maybe not, depending on injuries. But Green Bay at the Eagles, that 4:30 slot on Sunday. What do you think? Or you want me to go first this time?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Pretty much the Eagles started the season a little bit sluggish at 2-2, but after they beat our Browns in week 6, then they really went on this huge run right here. And Jalen Hurts, what else do you expect from that guy? He's doing everything for them, and Devontae Smith together. Then they got a potential for possibly an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. I have them in the NFC Championship as well. I think that the NFC is, as I went through this, I found that the NFC was probably the hardest to pick. I think that there's a lot of good teams in the NFC, which might make it hard for the Eagles. But I think that, after that last week, I think Green Bay is pretty banged up. They lose Christian Watson. Jordan Love's not 100%. Their backup quarterback's Malik Willis, who's a gamer, but he's not Jordan Love. I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think that Green Bay goes into Philadelphia beat up and beats the Eagles. I don't think there's a chance. Not with how well Saquon Barkley's been playing. I think that they'll just run the ball right down their throats. So I think it'll be a quick game. I don't think it'll be much for this one. Anything else on that one?
Vikings versus Rams.
Okay. Well, that's the Monday slot. Did you want to do, if you want to go in order, you want to do Washington at Tampa Bay Sunday night?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that one. Because I think that's the game. That's the game right there that'll be fun to watch, is that Sunday night game. Well, both of them, Sunday and Monday night games. Those were the 2 hardest for me to pick. So what do you think? Washington at Tampa Bay.
Okay. Well, the Commanders, they were not so good last year, but they greatly improved this year by drafting an LSU stud in Jaden Daniels, and they hired Dan Quinn as their new head coach. And from this move, going forward from last season to this season, they quickly went from a 4-win season last year to a 12-win season with their new head coach and quarterback. So I don't know what to say about it. And Tampa Bay's good too with Baker Mayfield, a former Brown. I was pretty surprised that he was snubbed on getting in the Pro Bowl games. I was really shocked about that, but it is.
So was Patrick Mahomes.
And Patrick Mahomes too.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But I would take the Commanders to win over the Buccaneers in a 20 wild card rematch. Well,
in the words of the infamous Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. I have Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming out on top of this one. I think that Washington falls into the same boat as Denver. I think that regardless of how this season ends, they've already won. They have their franchise quarterback. They have two great wide receivers. They have a good running game in Robinson. Just reload on the defense. Their defense is what they need. Let Jaden Daniels, get this experience in, let him figure this stuff out. A lot of the games that they did win, they were close. They were against, sub 500 to sub 500 teams. They struggled against the teams that were above 500, and I think that's where it kind of catches up to them. I think that Baker is an absolute gunslinger. I know that his offense is kind of beaten up too, but they have two good running backs, and Mike Evans is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker move on in this round.
Okay.
So, all right, and then our last matchup for the wild card weekend is going to be Minnesota at the Rams Monday at 8. And it stinks for Minnesota because they have one of the best records in the NFL.
Yeah.
But they have to travel on the road. So what do you think the product of this game is?
Well, going into the season for the Rams, Aaron Donald retired suddenly, and they didn't know what to do for defense, but they got to the draft and got Jared Verse, which he was good, and then Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was all right, but Stafford, he was okay, but with a new running back in Kyron Williams, which he's really good, and for Minnesota they got J.J. McCarthy in the draft, which he tore his meniscus, unfortunately, but they got Sam Darnold in free agency, and he was absolutely incredible for them, and they almost won the NFC North in Week 18 against the Lions, but the Lions were just favored to win that game. So I'm
right,
win on Monday night.
Okay. So you think Minnesota wins?
No, I would pick the Rams to win.
The Rams, okay, yeah. I struggled with this one as well. I think that this is one of those games where on paper, Minnesota might have a better overall team. I think that their defense is better. I think man for man, they kind of match up, with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, those guys, Aaron Jones. I mean, when you start doing the dude check, this dude versus this dude, I think that Minnesota might have more dudes, if for lack of better words, right? But I just don't have faith in Sam Darnold. I think that he could turn back into a pumpkin at midnight. You know what I mean? And that I don't think he. And I hope he proves me wrong. I hope it's as exciting as it sounds for them to pick up a cheap quarterback out of free agency and be able to ride him for 2, maybe 3 years if they slap a franchise tag on him. Or maybe trade him away for an even better draft pick. I mean, Minnesota hit the lottery there. But I think that going to the Rams is a big factor. And I think, it's not like it's playing in Green Bay or playing in Philadelphia or even playing in Cleveland for that matter. I know that LA has a huge stadium and, their fan base has moved a couple times. So, I know it's not as big of a factor, but I do think that the Rams are going to come away with this one. Sean McVay is an elite coach. I think that he just knows what he's doing. Not to take anything away from Minnesota, but I think that the Rams are just going to come away with it. So I think the last two games we disagreed on finally.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes, and maybe we come back at this when we hit those final 4 and kind of talk through that. Okay, I do want to know, if you had to, what's your Super Bowl prediction before we start this whole mess? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, for me, I would pick the Lions to win the divisional and the NFC Championship game finally and go to the Super Bowl. But I would think the Chiefs will win the divisional round but lose in the conference championship to the Bills if they make it there.
Okay.
And that would be Lions versus Bills in the Super Bowl.
Well, man, that's what I got. So, yeah, I mean, it may sound safe. I think that the Chiefs played with fire all year. I mean, they almost lost to like 5 or 6 different teams that they probably should have lost to. They didn't lose to them, so their record doesn't really reflect how they played. What it reflects is kind of their clutchness, I guess, which does matter more when it comes to the playoffs. I'll take a clutch quarterback over, somebody who just wins like a CJ Stroud, right? Like give me Patrick Mahomes all day over something like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that, with Buffalo having the 2 seed, they're going to play opposite Kansas City all the way up. And I think that, if Kansas City can get to the divisional game or the conference championship game, I think that the Bills can go into Arrowhead and take it. I agree with you there. And I love the way that the Lions are playing right now. I just, with Montgomery possibly coming back off of, the bye week and right. Yeah. I don't see the only team I see competing with the Lions is maybe Philadelphia. I think that they have enough, again, dudes on their team and their quarterback is enough of a game changer. I think that one of the best games is going to be maybe Buffalo. I think that'll be an interesting one, but Buffalo would host that game. So I think that's a factor too. Bills Mafia, they bring it. So, all right, last talking point, and I promise we'll kind of wrap up there, but we got some big games in Ohio coming up. I know the Browns are out, but we got our Buckeyes.
Yeah.
And they look. Maybe I'm kind of superstitious. I hate even prefacing this. They look unstoppable right now. I mean, they ran through Tennessee, who basically handled their way through the SEC. They did just fine against Georgia, against Alabama, against all of them. Then they go up against an undefeated Oregon team, and they absolutely just mopped the floor with them. I mean, it was one of those ones where it was close in Eugene, Oregon, but it was not close last week. However, they're headed to Texas to play Texas.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? I mean, I'm curious.
I mean, since we lost to Michigan, I guess Ohio State just really dominated this whole playoff so far. Texas is a good team too, with Quinn Ewers and also
Absolutely.
back Arch Manning. But I would pick possibly to go to the national championship 10 days from Friday, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be biased, right? I'm trying not to. I definitely like the Buckeyes. I think that it has to be a punch to the mouth the second they step on the field. I think that that's what, that's where that loss to Michigan came from, was that they tried to do this ground and pound 1960s Ohio State, Woody Hayes, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, like that kind of thing. And that's exactly what Michigan wanted them to do. I don't know whose fault that is. I've watched a lot of Chip Kelly games, and that's not how Chip Kelly coached. So I don't know what it was about Michigan, but Ohio State choked in that game 100%. That was not their style. But I think the biggest thing is they understood that. And from there, there's been a fire lit, and you can tell they are just racking points up on teams and just embarrassing them. I mean, and we're not just talking about Purdue and Northwestern. We're talking about some of the best teams in the nation, right? Top 12 teams. So I agree with you. I think that Ohio State can do it. I just think that it can't be a back and forth game, that it has to be a punch in the mouth. And I don't want to see him come out and just hammer Jeremiah Smith because it becomes predictable. I want to see him run. I want to see him air the ball out. But whatever they did against Tennessee and Oregon, I want to see that again. Like, that team needs to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Penn State, Notre Dame. Man, is this an even matchup? Like, they couldn't have painted a better picture. I think this will be a fun game to watch. What do you think?
I mean, Penn State, they was really good this year, and they got their quarterback, which he was absolutely incredible so far in the regular season. And then I'm actually surprised they made it this far because I wasn't expecting for them to make it this far and possibly not winning all these games this year, but they did, and they're already here. So I guess I'll just go with Penn State to play national championship.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to whoop up on Penn State again. Yeah, Drew Aller is a good quarterback. I think that sometimes he's overlooked. I do think that he's young and makes a lot of mistakes. So I do think that could be a factor. I think that Notre Dame's defense their secondary is elite. And I think that's who has to step up. They have to shut down Warren, that tight end. He was a monster in the Boise State game, just everywhere, catching everything. And then, but I don't know. James Franklin seems like one of those coaches that you put the lights on him and sometimes he disappears. He's like I think that, the phrase is he's Ohio State, Michigan's little brother kind of thing. So it'll definitely be, I think he's outperformed his expectation this year to be in the Final Four. I don't think that was his expectation. So he definitely helped himself. I don't think he's on the hot seat by any means. So even if he loses, I think he's safe, but I don't know. I don't trust James Franklin. I like Marcus Freeman. I like what he's done. I like what he stands for. I like the fact that he's a former Buckeyes coach. I think that he's going to get those boys fired up and ready to play for sure. So my pick goes to Notre Dame.
Okay.
So, all right, Jovanni. So anything else you want to discuss before we wrap this segment up?
Well, I got one final one.
Okay.
I think it's for the Super Bowl, maybe. I would pick for possibly the Lions versus Bills Super Bowl. I'm going with the Detroit Lions.
Okay. So you're saying the city of Detroit finally gets to taste a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Before the Browns.
Yeah. They're the Bros. They destroy.
Dan Campbell, man, he's doing something right. Biting kneecaps or something up there.
Biting kneecaps, that's right.
Biting kneecaps. Yeah, he's got those guys playing hard.
Yeah, and he was a former Detroit Lions player too, so.
Right. Well, I mean, can you imagine if Aiden Hutchinson was still healthy?
I would. And I mean, he could play if they make it that far, but we'll see how the playoffs goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that the NFL playoffs will be exciting. I think that there's some good wild card matchups, and then, I mean, it's our first year ever with a 12-team college playoff. I think that it's going to be an exciting weekend from Thursday to Monday. So,
yeah.
Well, all right, Jovanni, we'll wrap up this segment. I appreciate you for coming on. If you guys could give Ohio Sportscast a follow I know Jovanni does a ton of, click the button. Yeah, subscribe. A lot of updates. Giovanni's more of he's my Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
Jovanni Schefter.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you guys.